What's up? Welcome to another Ask Matt. I think it's been 2 weeks to the day, so I hope nobody missed it too much. Had been doing it roughly weekly, so that was a little bit longer of a stretch than maybe usual. But I'm excited to be back on this, hang out with you guys. Everything's been good over here. I've been chilling, taking some time to just enjoy, which is obviously one of the amazing upsides of building a business on this internet thing is the freedoms that it can create. And so I've just been enjoying some of those seeds that I planted years ago, working as well, of course, but probably maybe a little less than you might imagine. But yeah, all good stuff. And what's up, guys who are popping in now? As always, a couple minutes to let people get in. If you're watching the replay, hit the thumbs up, but also feel free to skip a couple minutes ahead if you just want to get into the core questions that we'll be getting into once people show up. What else? Prime Day, that's coming up. As far as I know, they haven't released the exact date yet, but it should be roughly around the 16th of July, I believe. Maybe as early as like the 12th. I'm not sure what day of the week that is right now without looking, but it's going to be in that rough range. So that's exciting. We can talk about that if you guys have questions surrounding Prime Day and what my experience has been in the past or what to expect. So I'll probably be doing a video on that as well. Yeah, that's coming up. What else is coming up? Well, not coming up, but you guys have probably been seeing my YouTube ads. I've got a lot of really positive feedback on those, so that's fun and exciting because you may have seen I made a video about that, like maybe probably like 6 weeks ago, saying how I really wanted to make ads but not be annoying and give value and have different ads and all the stuff, and I think that's what I've achieved. Everybody so far seems to be responding really, really well to the ads, which is really cool in my opinion because ads are freaking annoying and nobody really likes ads. So I'm trying to figure out a way to that's just my style. I just want to bring value and be positive and just be worthwhile. So it seems to be working, but if you have seen them, let me know what you think. And yeah, we've got a couple people, we've got a good amount already in here. Hopefully people will continue to get in, but yeah, I mean, those of you here, feel free to start hitting questions. I think I'll just get right into it. And yeah, thanks for being in here or for listening to the replay. Let's see. Hey Matt, what's up? Is it better for my freight forwarder to pick up from the supplier's warehouse or my freight forwarder to pick up from my supplier's factory? Okay. I'm a little confused. Do you mean that you're buying from a trading company who is buying it from the factory? Because you should just have your freight forward arrange it from whoever you're buying it from. I mean, I guess if you were buying it from a trading company, you could arrange to have it at your supplier is the trading company in that case. So that's possible to go straight from the factory, but then you're potentially cutting out your trading company who might see that as a risk. So that's probably not really going to be a normal option, at least. It's usually just that your freight forwarder is going to manage it from the port, actually, because usually we're going to use FOB terms, which means that the supplier is actually responsible for getting the shipment to the port, and then your freight forwarder takes ownership of it at the port. So that's what I would recommend in either case, but whether it's your factory or supplier, usually the same, but if it's your supplier, then that's who you're buying it from. But either way, if you're doing like sea shipping or something that would require a freight forwarder, I would, in pretty much every case, just recommend going with FOB terms. I would just say, trust me on that. That's just kind of like the standard, makes everyone's lives easier. So hope that answers that. Can you have more than one brand under Seller Central? If so, how do you sell one of the brands? So what you touched on there is the answer itself, which is that yes, you can, but one of the downsides is it would make it a little more complicated to sell one of those brands. I know that it's possible. I have not personally done it like that, so I don't know exactly that process, but it's still possible. It's just definitely not going to be as easy as like a whole package where everything is completely separated, because now you're going to have to prove the financials of just that one brand when the financials are actually mixed up in this whole account, and it's probably one legal business that has all of these other brands. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the downsides, but that's one of the only downsides of having multiple brands under one account. I think in most cases, it makes more sense to put multiple brands under one account because it allows you to be nimble and fast, meaning you can just test products sooner, perhaps. You know, you don't have to make such a big commitment to a new product if you're not yet sure really what you're going to be doing. If you know dead set, I'm going to build this brand and that brand for the next 10 years and they're going to be worth $1 billion, then yeah, set it up separately. Absolutely. I mean, no question. But I know that the truth is a lot of new sellers in particular are dabbling and trying things. And it's nice to be agile and have the ability to test other products on that account. So I would say in most cases, even though that is a downside, it's probably the route that most of you, it would make the most sense to go for. Guys, if you're in here, hit the thumbs up. Really appreciate it. It makes a big difference. Should new sellers worry about tax? If so, please explain the system. Sure. So I am not a tax professional. I'll go briefly into this, but the real answer is talk to a tax professional. Now, that said, there's multiple types of tax. There is income tax, which is essentially the same for any type of business or income. You're going to have to pay taxes on the income that you make, whether it's from a job, your own business, a partnership. I mean, there's slight differences, but that's income tax. Now, that you have to do no matter what. Yeah. So if you make profit, you're going to pay tax on that income. Now, there's also sales tax, which causes a lot of confusion, that's the tax that, like, when you go to the store and it adds, like, well, in California, like 9% or whatever it's at now, that's sales tax. So that, I would say, if you're brand new starting out and you're literally just doing this really scrappy, like, you'll be okay to set that up a little after you start. Now, that's not the legal way of doing it. That's not the correct way of doing it, but that's what most people do is they go retroactively, and you can pay it back once you figure it out. So you should figure that out as soon as you're like doing this legit and you know you're sticking with it. You should then really figure out sales tax. And at the very least, figure out your home state. Right now, not just right now, forever, it's been a massive gray area about, do you need to charge sales tax for other states, because Amazon is moving my inventory around and shipping it to customers from all these different states. Am I responsible if I live in California and my business is in California, but an Amazon customer in Texas orders it and Amazon ships it from Texas to Texas? Does that mean that I have to charge Texas sales tax? It's a big gray area. There's a lot of controversy there, but for me, what I'll say is for most of us, worry about your home state. If you get to really big scale, then start doing research into if it would make sense for you to undertake that headache of figuring it out for all the states. That's my best advice there. Matt, could you do a video on hijackers, how to deal with them, etc.? Yeah, I probably should do a video. There is a video on that inside the course. The answer to hijackers is, well, a few things. I'll keep it a little brief. I've probably gone into this in bits and pieces elsewhere in other videos, but look, even if you don't have, bouncing around a little bit, but brand registry can help you. Yes, you'll hear that a lot. Brand registry is worth looking into. It will add some extra protections when it comes to that. That is true. Now, that does not mean it's a magic bullet solution. I have brands that are brand registered and still have to go through basically the same struggle as if they weren't. So while it helps, it's not like an end-all solution. But the good side of that is that means even if you're not brand registered, you're basically playing the same game. So it's very possible to get it off. You have to do a few things. Well, this could get long, but first off, is it Prime or is it not? Is it just some Chinese supplier that is shipping from China and they just hop onto your listing? If it's that, I worry very little. I find that most of the time those sellers just get banned in the next day anyways, and typically they're not even taking over the buy box, which would be the first question really. Do they have the buy box? Is it Prime or is it merchant fulfilled? Let me just deal with the real hijacker case. Real hijacker case is it's Prime, meaning they actually shipped it in to FBA on your listing. They have the buy box. It's FBA. They're stealing your sales. Amazon is shipping it to your customers, all of that. That's a true hijacker. The other ones aren't nearly as big of a deal. If it's a big deal, a couple things. A test buy. You have to order your product, like buy it on Amazon yourself. You need to do that because you're going to have to provide that to Amazon to say, hey, look, we bought the product. It's not ours. It's different than this one. We are the brand that produces this product. Here are the differences. And you're going to outline all of that out when you report this to Amazon. Now, that's it in a nutshell. But the truth of dealing with Amazon seller support is you'll often have to do it multiple times. So the first time you might do it, they might not say anything. Then you have to just keep getting on them and telling them that this is serious and Amazon customers are receiving the wrong products and we don't know if it's safe or what it is or anything. Like so alerting them that it's like a problem for their customers. And yeah, I mean, it's really just about, you have to just keep nagging them sometimes because they just sometimes won't really. I mean, they're just overwhelmed. I'm sure they're trying to do as much as they can, but they're just overwhelmed, so they can't deal with it all at once. So you might find that you don't get a solution immediately. Keep trying, but it always works out. Matt, you've been hitting the gym. No, not really, actually. If you cannot decide between two potential brands, how would you proceed? Test products for both brands? I would not start with two brands at the same time. Potentially you can start with two products at the same time, but I would never launch two brands simultaneously. That just seems like a diversion in the amount of attention that you could give to either. So I wouldn't do that. There's a lot of factors that are going to determine which you choose. I mean, which is a better opportunity? Which product is a better initial opportunity? Which has better ability to be built out into a brand? Which one has less risks? Which one do you like better? Which one can you market more? Which one has more capability to engage with audiences and build communities around it? Those to me are all pros. Not to say that you can't build meaningful brands that are not exciting. You can, absolutely. But to me, I like that. I especially if you're taking a very long-term approach where you want to build something potentially sellable, something very protectable. It's nice to be able to really get behind some serious branding and marketing, and not just have some random boring product that's like a replacement part for chair or whatever. It's not exciting. So I mean, all those things are gonna factor in. But a big part of it is going to be what's a better opportunity. So, and something I've learned a lot as I've gotten more and more people asking me these questions is it's that there are so many different types of opportunities. Like, it's not even that there's a right and a wrong. Like for you, I don't know your entire financial life situation, right? If you are, most people that are interested in this, maybe they don't have that much money to risk. Maybe they're just trying to get it going, which is great. I was there. That makes perfect sense. In that situation, you probably want to go for cash flow opportunities, right? Like, you need to just make money to be able to do other things and leverage that into the next thing. That's what I've done. That's what I highly recommend. Now, if you're somebody that has a super stable job, you're making, I don't know, $80,000 a year, you love the job, you don't want to leave it, or you already have some other side incomes and stuff like that, then you might want to consider doing something that you care a bit more about. Take an even longer term approach and do something that you are more passionate about. That's something that I've learned in this past year is that, cash flow opportunities are great, but in the long term, it's really a benefit to be doing something that you're into. And it doesn't mean you don't have to be in love with it, but again, the chair example versus something that you actually can kind of get excited about. So yeah, depends. Best Alibaba payment method, and do you have a checklist before you order a shipment, like UPCs and stuff? For me, I don't do a formal sort of checklist in my head. I guess I just know what I need to do. I don't have something that I strictly follow, but to me, it's just a pretty simple step-by-step. We could go into that if people want to ask additional questions, but I need packaging. I need to make sure, talk to the supplier about everything that I need to get done. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you pack it like this? How much is this going to cost? You're just planning out all of that stuff. But anyways, best payment method is definitely going to be trade assurance. That's Alibaba's payment platform. It's going to be the safest because it allows you to sort of put the payment in escrow, meaning it's not given to the supplier until you sort of release it. You can split up the payment into a deposit and a balance. That's another way to protect yourself. You can also do an inspection before you release the balance. Yet another way to protect yourself. With trade assurance, you can always open a claim, which is the benefit of what makes it a bit safer. Whoa, I'm like 10 minutes behind in the questions. So if you're in here live and I skipped over your question, feel free to ask it again. Are you going to Ryan Moran's Brand Builder Conference? I haven't bought a ticket, but I'm considering it. I think it'd be really cool. I'm a big fan of Ryan, and I need to get him on my not yet existing podcast. So, yeah, we'll see. But nonetheless, I will definitely be meeting Ryan at some point. I'm launching my product in 2 weeks. What do you recommend me to do for the launch, apart from going hard on PPC to get more traffic and put the product on first page? Well, you've got only 2 weeks. So, you're probably not going to build a massive organic audience around your brand in 2 weeks. But that's okay. I think the best advice is to build an audience. That even ties into Ryan Moran. He preaches that. I do as well. I agree with that. I think that most first-time sellers are not going to tackle building a massive audience before they launch their first product. And it doesn't need to be a massive audience, but there are ways to do this by, he would say this too, leveraging other people's audiences or paying for it or paying to leverage other people's audiences. But anyways, ads, right? Yes, go very hard on PPC. Do not neglect that. Even if you go crazy with Facebook ads and all this crazy stuff, you got to feed Amazon what it wants. So go hard with PPC. You're right on that. I would also back up and say, is your listing optimized as much as you possibly can day one to convert? That is key, because if you get traffic there, you need it to convert, or else you're just wasting it. So as far as other forms, I think that, again, building up your own audience is great, but takes time. That's a real long-term strategy. So in the short term, I would say to leverage some sort of promotion. Now, I don't like any giveaway service. I don't recommend any of the giveaway services. I think that they are playing in a very gray area. It's just not the way to go. But there are other ways to do it. With Facebook ads, for example, you can leverage deep discount coupons, drip them out every day on Facebook, and pay for that to get in front of people. Something like that, I personally put that way above any of the other things. So I would personally look into that. I think it's great because you don't need to figure out that much stuff to get started on that. You don't need a website. You don't need to have built up a organic audience yet. You can start that. You could start that the day your product goes live. Like, you don't really need that much preparation, which to me is a big upside, because we're all kind of strapped for time and everything, there's only so much you can ever be doing. So I think that's a great place to start. I am launching my product in a competitive market next week. What is your advice on launching in a competitive market? Thank you. Ties into what I was just saying, except you need money and a good amount of money. So basically the only difference between going after a product that you think can make $1,000 a month versus $10,000 a month, I'm talking profit. If we're talking revenue, then maybe we're talking a product that does 5,000 revenue a month versus 75,000 revenue per month. The only real difference in the overall strategy is how much money you can put on the line and risk. There is risk involved. So I would just say do all of this, but on steroids if you're going into a competitive market. I think competitive markets are great. They are not off limits by any means. You just have to know that you're playing a different risk-reward balance, right? If you want to make $1,000 a month profit, the risk-reward is going to be different than if you're trying to make $20,000 a month profit. you're going to have to leverage more to go after the bigger ones, especially now as the Amazon landscape continues to change, continues to get more competitive. That's true. There's competition. There is. That doesn't mean it's not an opportunity, but that just means you have to be adapted to the game that you're trying to play. And that means for those of us starting on a smaller budget, probably not going into the most competitive market. But if you have, if you're willing to dump 10K into your first product and you've got another 30K in the bank or something, by all means, go after that gigantic opportunity. There's less people doing that, but also realize you're going to be playing a game with more experienced competition too. It's a good point. Hi, Matt. Greetings from Argentina once again. PPC or Google AdWords or both? I've personally never used Google AdWords with Amazon. You could. I don't have personal experience with that. And I would, the nuance that I will pick on you a little bit for is that it should never be PPC or AdWords, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. PPC is yes, okay? Everything else is which are you comfortable with and which do you think caters to your product and audience and all of that. But PPC is a given. PPC is always. So it's never going to be or. Google AdWords, I don't have particular personal experience with it with Amazon. I guess you would have to, I don't think you can do a Google ad. You can't do a Google ad directly to Amazon. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty freaking positive that I'm not wrong about that. So you'd have to do some kind of landing page, opt-in, which is all great. You can Facebook Pixel, Google Pixel, retarget that landing page. That's all possible. Do I have personal experience with that in the context of Amazon? No. But for me, like I said, Facebook is still number one for external ads. How important is it for you to be the face of your brand? Not necessary. I think the concept of having a face of a brand is excellent, but I'm not the face of any of my brands. I don't really know many people that are the faces of their brands. Yeah, I mean, basically nobody that I personally know that's doing this on Amazon is the face of their brand. Matt, I'm old enough to be your grandpa, but I'm happy to say that I'm learning tons from you. Thanks. That's awesome. And I'm glad to be helping. That's cool. Let's see. Guys, thumbs up. Don't forget. You will be kicked off of YouTube if you don't hit the thumbs up right now. Do you put the UPC on your product or the FN SKU? FN SKU. Start there. The downside is, look, if you start going into multiple channels, you're going to have to figure out putting the UPC for those channels, meaning wholesale, whatever. But for Amazon, putting the FN SKU just makes your life easier. just start putting the FN SKU into your product packaging. In my opinion, that's where you should start. If you have legitimate reasons to look at doing the other way, which would be the UPC, by all means go for it. But there are downsides of that too. More risk for commingled hijackers, all that stuff. Because if your inventory could be mixed with other people's inventory and somebody now sends it in saying, hey, I have that product too, but they don't, now it's all mixed up with yours. At what point should you start paying yourself from your business? Waiting as long as you can is good. You don't want to, you cannot be of the mentality that oh my God, I just made $2,000 of profit, write myself a check for $2,000. Because now your business is broke and your business needs to reinvest, and it's going to get more and more expensive to run your business. You have to sustain new products, more inventory, all this stuff, right? Maybe employees eventually. So try to hoard money for your business. That money is not your money. It's the business's money. So but obviously there's life, right? You need to survive. So, and that's why I think the best place to be optimally is to have another form of income. That doesn't mean that's the only way, but otherwise you're going to be in a tight spot, right? You don't want to be crunched for extracting profits soon. Now, what does the actual timeline look like? I think for me, I was probably a good year and a half into the business before I ever took out any money from it. And when you do take out money from it, start with as little as you need. Like, just leave the money in the business. Like, know it's there, you know, but like, pay yourself just what you need for as long as you can. And do not expect to be able to pull out money right away by any means. Ooh, might have to rant on this one a little bit. What is considered a competitive market? Like, how many sellers are selling the product? So there's no exact criteria for this because it's always a balance of market size versus how many competitors. So anybody that says no more than 10 competitors, like, they just fundamentally don't understand, like, business. Doesn't matter. Like no more than 10 pizza places in America. Like, no, like, it's a big market for pizza or whatever. Like, the bigger the market, the more competitors that it can sustain. Now, in some markets, one competitor might be too many. That market might be so small that having one competitor means there's none left, okay? On the other hand, there might already be 50 or 100 competitors in a big market, but there might still be plenty of room for you to fit in there. So what matters more is the landscape of the whole opportunity. Is there room for more competition? How well is this amount of competition sustaining how big that market is? Or rather, how well is that size of market sustaining this amount of competition? Is everyone getting a solid piece? Or is it one guy ranked number one doing really well and then 100 people ripping each other to shreds for like $1? If it's that, then it's too competitive. But there's no exact number of sellers. There's no exact number to any of the criteria, really. I mean, there are a few that are worth thinking about, but in terms of, you don't want to get into a dead market. You don't want to get into something that just has too little revenue to even play with. You don't want to get into a product that is so cheap that leaves you no margin to market. But other than those sorts of criteria, competition is a balance against how big that opportunity is. So, yeah. How do you go from 7 figures to 8 figures? I'm struggling with this a lot. So I have not gone to 8 figures, but I know that it looks different than going to 7 figures. I did give a talk. If you look on my channel, you'd have to go back pretty far. It was the first talk that I did, like a public talk, I mean, and it was how I've gone from 0 to 6 figures to 7 figures and how I think to go to 8. So, and I think that it looks dramatically different. I think that it involves hiring. It involves multi-channels. It involves having your own marketing funnels that are not just plopping yourself up on a place like Amazon. Meaning, you know, can I cold convert traffic into my realm and then market to them and profitably make sales and scale? Or can I go full distribution to retail stores across the country? Or, you know, it involves stuff like that. There's a helicopter going by. Stuff like that is what brings a brand from the 7-figure level to the 8-figure level. I think that they look dramatically different. I think that they're usually not just one-man shows anymore, and they definitely have multiple products. They definitely have multiple channels, I would say. You know, nobody is launching 2 products on Amazon and doing 8 figures. Like, I don't know of that. Yeah, there's none of there. I don't know of that going on. So anybody doing 8 figures has a good amount of products, has a strong brand, has people working for them, has multiple sales channels that are substantial. Like, you know, maybe they're not, you know, maybe on Amazon you're already doing multi 7 figures, but now maybe you have a 7-figure Shopify presence. It's going to be more diversified, and it has to be, it's still something I'm trying to understand, and that's why I don't have the exact words, but it's that it has to have that real business feel. Like, what we sort of do in the 7-figure level is like, how can we emulate a real business? to be 8 figures, you have to have everything figured out. You have to have processes. You have to have systems. You have to have people who do these things. Like, it has to be all figured out to be able to scale to that level. Can you have more than one seller central account under one IP address? You need permission from Amazon to have more than one account. So if you're going to register a second account, make sure you get written permission from Amazon first. And to get that, you need a legitimate reason, which would be having a different legal business, for example. Amazon received my shipment today for my first item. Yay, that's awesome. Congrats. That's huge. What are your thoughts about ZonGuru versus Helium 10? I actually haven't personally used ZonGuru, though the guys behind it are awesome. I spoke at their meetup. You can see the video of that on my channel if you go back maybe a month or so. It was fun, and people enjoyed what I had to say, which is cool. But I haven't actually used their software, so I can't really speak to it. Helium 10 I do use. I do like it. It's one of... Well, wait, actually. Look at the video right before this one. My current most recent video, it was literally, I talked all about the tools, so I'll probably just leave it at that right here. But my most recent video on YouTube explains my thoughts on tools, and Helium 10 is one of the few that I use. So I do like it. I do recommend it because there's a lot of tools in one, and I've used quite a bit of them, and I'm not the type to find one tool here and one tool there and dig for tools all day. Like, I like it because it's just like, hey, here's a bunch of tools that you can use. And I don't know, to me that just works really well. So there's links to all the tools that I use in the description of every video. You can always check that out. Hey man, is there anything wrong selling the same product as other competitors as long as you're adding value, bundling, or does it need to be completely different? Thanks. It does not need to be completely different, okay? Being different in some way is enough, and in many cases safer. So differentiation is obviously key. And if you want a long-term, seriously stable product or brand, you're gonna have to be very unique. That's absolutely true. But it's more risky because you're going into something more unproven when you're doing something differently. So while doing something more similar might actually be safer in the shorter term, but it might have a shorter shelf life. It might not last as long. And I don't like to bank on products lasting forever. Like, that's why I'm always continually adding more anyways. But the more you establish something different, the more you're going to be established. So nothing wrong with only changing your product a little bit. I actually think that's the safest place to start. Plus, much less expensive. If you want to do something truly unique, the engineering and mold and production, everything is going to be very expensive. So what I've done and what I would recommend is take the profits from the smaller change and roll that into establishing yourself as a more unique brand and kind of grow into it. But you don't have to start there. That said, you should make some change. You have to stand out. You have to be better. So what can you just do? What can you do to be a better choice? Just marginally, just enough that your product is a better choice than the next guy. Wondering what your opinion is on using brand new UPC codes or saving the money buying recycled ones for FBA. Are recycled ones the same as the third-party ones? I'm not even quite sure on the terminology there. I've never heard of buying recycled ones, but the third-party ones, yeah. I haven't been hearing of anyone really having issues with that. If you want to play it 100% safe, buy directly from GS1. If you buy third-party, they're much cheaper. And if shit ever hits the fan, you're going to be in the same boat as a lot of other people. So I don't think it's that. It's not that big of a risk, I think. But if you want to be completely safe, buy from GS1. Recycled, though, if that's something different, be careful. It has to be GS1. The third-party ones are still GS1. They're just not in your ownership. So, yeah. Not sure if that's the same as recycled or not. If you see 3 same products, low BSR, selling well in the top 10 of Jungle Scout lists, but there's also several sellers selling the same thing but not doing well, will you still go for it? has 40K of search volume. So only three out of 10 are doing good. To me, that's not a good ratio. I mean, I would have to look more closely to give you a real answer, but in general, what I would say is, like in general, that's not the right ratio, because why do you think you're going to be one of the 3 and not one of the 10 or more below? So unless you can point to exact reasons, like, well, these guys are the only ones doing this and that's why they're doing well, then you might have a chance. Or this guy's selling terrible, but his listing is horrible. He's not running ads. You know, everything sucks. Then I kind of check him off the list if I can find excuses or reasons. But in general, I like to see a better mix. Like, you know, and that to me sounds like you might end up with the other guys, not with the 3. It concerns me, but I would need to take a better look to really get it. I can't say with certainty that it's not an opportunity, but it sounds like unbalanced, meaning too much at the top, not enough depth. Matt is the best on my second product and still building thanks to his course. That's awesome. Dude, that's really great. I want to hear about it. Shoot me a screenshot of your sales or something. That's really great. On your second product already too. That's great. You're following the method. You're expanding. You're not just like, hey, got one product, guys. Time to just relax. that's the way to go. Really. You can't just be dependent on one product. It's not a good place to be. How can I be positive that Amazon will allow me to sell a specific product? I don't want to invest time and money in a product that is restricted. Is there a way to be certain before I order units? Look into Amazon's documentation. They have a bunch of resources in the help section of Amazon that show you, there's a siren, not sure if the mic picks that up. That's funny. Help section of Amazon shows you, it'll show you restricted products, restricted categories, you know, oh, my product has a battery, it needs to follow these requirements, or you have to get this certification. All of that, that's your best way of doing it. If you're concerned, so there's full restricted products, and then there's gated categories. Gated categories, you should be able to figure that out. Just look and see if it's in that category. If it is, you're gonna have to figure out how to get into it. If it's a restricted product, stay away completely. It's just not allowed on Amazon. You know, beyond that, you can try listing the product without having it. You can try to just create a listing, see if it stops you, things like that. Try to go onto a competitor's listing and see if it would let you sell one, kind of like hijacking, but don't actually do it, but just see if it would let you sell. Those can be ways to do it. Now, that said, you might see people selling restricted products, and it's just a matter of time until they get taken down. So just because you see somebody doing something doesn't mean it is, yeah. Amazon received my shipment today for my first item. How long does it take for listing to go live? Usually just within like a day or two, really. Usually like the next day after you get the email that it says we're checking it in or whatever. Usually by the next day, I think it would say, but it will probably say in stock on a future date. To me, that means it's in stock, in my perception. I would like, that's your go. To me. Do you hire photographers and models for your product photos? How much should I be looking to spend for absolute best listing? I have my own sort of connections with that. I don't use exact services. Sometimes I'll take like the default photo myself. I have some photography experience, or I'll send it to my VA who happens to be a photographer also. So he'll sometimes do the base photos or even some lifestyle photos. Other than that, I like to use sort of like micro influencers and photographers for that type of stuff. I have not personally paid an expensive professional photographer for lifestyle photos. That said, I'm not saying they're not important. You should have them. I just think there's like some sort of tricks to go do that with. Thanks, Matt. Should my freight forwarder pick up from my supplier's factory or my supplier deliver it to a freight forwarder office in China? Oh, that's a continuation of the same question. Dude, just send an email to your freight forwarder, CC the supplier, say, figured out. That's how I ship from China. It's true though. Like you don't have to figure all that stuff out. Just like let them quote you what to do. Like I don't even know how every little step of that process works. I don't know. Like you just get the freight forwarder to communicate with the supplier. And you know, they'll exchange whatever they need to exchange, basically. That's how you do it. What are the main things you do to optimize a listing, Matt? How do you obtain the right keywords? So it's two different things, really, because keywords are important, but I would not say they are the number one of the entire listing. The number one to me is your photo. Well, photos, but particularly your first photo, because that's what shows up in the search results. And kind of, this sounds weird. I've never said it this way, but it's almost think of your entire listing as a photo. Like I think of my title like aesthetically too, I guess. It's like, what is the overall presentation of my listing, right? Like, does it all look clean and concise? That's kind of more the way, I'm glad I'm articulating it like this finally, but that's what I pay the most attention to. And yes, the photo is the most big part of that, but so is the title. And once they click into the listing, so are the bullets, so are your other photos. But it's this whole cohesiveness of looking clean and legit. But yeah, photo is the main thing to optimize. Beyond that, I mean, you know the order. It's on the actual listing, it's photos, title, bullets, description in that order. Back-end search terms are important too. I guess I'd probably, in terms of rank, I would probably say that they're the same as the bullets, or maybe slightly less actually, because the bullets are still visible, but they have the same sort of ranking ability, but they're not visible. So yeah, I mean, important, but not the most. But anyways, where do you find keywords? You're going to work that into all those aspects of your listing. Your title, your bullets, description doesn't necessarily index. Your back end, yes. So lots of ways. But as far, there are a lot of ways, okay? Digging around, all that stuff. But if you want a tool for that, for me, I'm using Cerebro and Magnet and Helium-10. If you want Helium-10, use my link, by the way. Yeah, use Helium-10 for that. Yeah, and that's useful for your PPC as well. PPC is a way to actually get more keyword ideas too. Search term report, see what's actually happening with your ad spend and what's profitable. Extract those keywords, spend more on those keywords, but also put those keywords back into your listing because they're obviously very relevant. Stuff like that. Paul, just one question. What are those shoes over there? Dude, you don't know what these shoes are? These are signed Gary V's. Let me see if that's focusing. But yeah, that's what those are. Tips to overcome analysis paralysis. My favorite is that the alternative sucks. And that's kind of, Gary would actually kind of say something like that too. But I'm really into like Stoic philosophy, Ryan Holiday, all that stuff. And I feel like it ties in as well. And it's just, you know, like the thought of not squeezing your life for everything you possibly can, to me, that is the fear, right? Like, I'm not afraid of trying something. I'm afraid of being like, shit, I didn't do it. I didn't do the thing that I wanted to do, or I didn't try. And to me, that's like the insane world that we're living in. And maybe this is just my own like psychosis, but I'm just constantly find it unbelievable that no one's trying. Like, no one seems to be trying. Like, you walk outside, no one's trying, right? You go to the store, no one's trying. It's just like, what are people doing with their lives? So to me, analysis paralysis is like kind of like like, you know, look at yourself and just say like, geez, like I have to do something. Like, I mean, I have to go for it. You have to go for what you want. And you have to be okay with risk. I think that's part of it too, because why are you paralyzed? You're probably paralyzed because you have a fear. That makes sense. And I think most people are acting based on fears, but I would encourage you to try not to act on your fears, to try to act on your dreams and what you really want, because fear is negativity. And yeah, it's just that to me, my fear is not doing it. So that might have been some weird advice to that question. I don't know, but that's the way that I think about it. I think it's way more terrible to not. So that is the way that I go for it. And being okay with risk and being okay with loss and being okay with something's not working well and not taking that so personally as if you are a failure. Like, no, you're just trying to figure out things, right? You lose some money, whatever. Get up, keep going. It's worth trying. Like, that's the thing that's crazy to me is like, I still get pumped up if somebody's like, I tried this thing, I lost some money. I'm like, dude, you're like a million times ahead of everyone else already. Yeah. I have a product, I have a listing. What is the next to drive the algorithm? Sales. Sales, 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 sales. Can international buyers buy through FBA? And do they have to pay state taxes? So you're talking about the customers. Amazon actually will sometimes disperse stuff for you. I've seen orders from my Amazon US inventory going to like Australia and stuff. They'll just like kind of do that. But there's FBA on other markets as well. There's FBA for Canada, Mexico, Japan, Europe, Australia. I think just rolled out actually. Did I miss any? I think that's it. But yeah, so you can look into those as well. But state tax, no, they would not have to because the customer pays state tax based on where they live. So yeah. Can I turn on the PPC and promotion campaign even before Amazon scans in my product, or wait till it shows in stock? You can do it now. It won't do anything now. It'll just start when it starts. So you could. It won't really have an effect. But yeah, once it shows in stock, blah, 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 then those things will start firing. How do you stay motivated after failed products and money loss? I would say the answer I gave about 2 minutes ago. Do you have plans to go to China to find better manufacturers or strengthen your current relationships? Honestly, personally, I don't know. I'm just good with the way things are rolling right now. And I've got this to a point that I am happy and content with it. I'll go on a slight tangent. Back to like the 8-figure thing. I don't know if my current brands are the ones that I want to put so much of my life's focus into trying to grow to 8 figures. I've built this as that sort of cash flow opportunity. And it's been that for me. I was, like scraping by in a studio apartment as I was going to school, starting this thing on Amazon and running around on Craigslist to sell stuff on eBay to figure it out too, trying to do this Amazon thing and scale it. And now I've achieved like a lifestyle that I'm very happy with. I can freaking, like, you guys can't see that way, but like you've all seen like the beach is right there. I live in LA. Like I can wake up whenever I want. I can meditate on the beach. I can read. I can watch YouTube videos. I don't know. I'm taking some time to enjoy what I've built. And geez, that was a tangent. What was the question? Oh, how did I get to that from that question? Anyways, the China question. So no, I'm just kind of happy with where it's at, and I don't feel the need to do that. Is there benefit in going to China? Probably. I just don't think it's on my immediate sort of like. I don't think that I care to do that right now. I don't know. To add some value on that, there's so much you can do from your computer. Like, that's amazing. That's insane. So, don't feel like I have to go to China to get anything done. Like, not really. That's probably an excuse. So, not saying going to China is not going to help. It probably would. But, like, don't be the person that's like, oh, I can't be successful because I can't go to China or something like that. A few more and we'll wrap up. This battery might be almost dying. I bought the thing to do continuous, but I'm not using it. Classic. Do you write your own listing or have someone else do it? I do it. Let me see, like one or two last quick great questions. Do you start PPC before or after you get reviews? Before. Day one. I know that's controversial to a lot of people, but trust me, day one, start PPC. Just do it, please. Let's see. I guess that looks like a good place to stop. Those of you in here live, I'll hop in the chat for a couple minutes afterwards. Otherwise, if you're not in the Facebook group, there's a link. It is free. It's in the description. Or just search some stuff on Facebook. You might find it. Matt Loberstein, something. That group is free. You can ask questions. Either I'll answer at times, but what's great is other people will answer too. That's a great place to just support and get answers and give answers. It's really a great community. I think we have 4,300 members in there now, so you don't want to miss out on that. I'll circle back to the beginning. Prime Day is coming up. Don't sleep on that. Might be something going on with the course in Prime Day as well. Just a little teaser. People are joining the course all the time. I'm super pumped for those people. I'm super, super pumped. I'm so glad to see people in there doing well. I just get proud every time I get to present people with this path because it's an amazing opportunity. It really is. Like I was saying a bit ago, like just stepping back and being like, whoa, what this has done for me was life-changing and is life-changing and allowed me to leverage into the next thing. So I'm glad to share that, and I'm glad to help people. I'm glad to have this community. It's fun hanging out with you guys. What else do I want to say? What else? Guess that's it. I appreciate you guys. Let me know anytime video ideas. I've been saying this so much, but I'm trying to make more and more videos, but I've been a little slow on the regular videos. So thanks for bearing with me and enjoying all those videos, but give me ideas, anything you want to see. Like, I'm doing this for you guys. So, always just whatever you want to say, I'm reading it. If I don't respond to every single comment, which I try to, I respond to a lot. I do read every single comment for sure. So drop those comments. Anyways, guys, that was fun. I appreciate you. Thumbs up. Don't forget it. YouTube will kill you. And yeah, that's it. See you guys in the next video. Peace.